Wonderful. So, welcome to this last webinar of the Transforming with the Earth series. And to start today, we're just going to take a moment to sit comfortably and closing our eyes. And I'm going to invite you to take a few deep exhales. With each exhale, letting go of what came before, allowing the past to stay in the past. So whatever came before is gone, so just allowing that. At the same time, allowing whatever it is that is coming after this session to stay in the future. So whatever needs to happen or will happen is not here yet. So allowing as well the future to stay in the future. And slowly I invite you to allow your breath to find a more natural rhythm, if possible, breathing through your mouth. So in and out through your mouth. And as we let go of the past and let go of the future, I invite you to give yourself the permission to be here, present, now, in this moment, in your body. And I invite you to go in and to notice, how does your inner landscape look like at this moment? Try not to label it, try not to judge it. Just noticing the feelings and sensations inside. I invite you to bring your awareness to your throat, neck, and shoulders area. Just take a moment to notice what is happening there. And keeping our awareness in this space, I invite you to start making some circles with your shoulders. So just making some circles with the shoulders to start moving a little bit of the energy in this space. This is where we hold most of our tension and tightness. So by bringing a little bit of movement, we're bringing a little bit more flow. Finding a good place to switch direction of the movement. And bringing the movement to an end. Just taking a moment to notice what is happening in your throat, neck, and shoulders area. Now we're going to make a few circles with our heads. Just slowly making a few circles with your head. Making sure to go slowly to take care of our necks. And also to see if you find any part that feels a little bit tight And just move back and forth through that space if you find any tightness, and then continue with the circle. Making sure all the time that we're breathing in and out, if possible, through our mouth. We're finding a good place to switch direction of the movement. Bringing flow into the throat, neck, and shoulders area. And the next time that your chin is all the way down, finish the movement there. Return to center. And notice as you return to center, notice in that stillness if there's a little bit more flow of energy in your throat, neck, and shoulders area. Now we're going to bring our awareness a little bit lower to our heart. So bringing your awareness to your heart space. And if it's needed, sometimes I like to imagine that from the top of my head, there is this pebble or rock, and I drop it into my heart, just like noticing the ripples that this pebble creates as it lands in my heart. And from this space, with an open heart, from this space, maintaining it, I invite you when you're ready just to open your eyes, to come back into the space, maintaining your awareness in your heart space and that openness. So I hope that this allowed us to be a little bit more grounded into the space. And this is something that, as we are moving through these times, that there are so many changes, that there are so many transformations, we need to maintain ourselves grounded. We need to know what are the ways for each of us to do that. We talked in some of the previous webinars about the need to go slowly, about the need to understand what is within your reach. What is it that you can control when there's so many unknowns? Sometimes we get lost in all of that. So being able to bring it back from our hearts and slowly noticing what can I do. So we talked in the previous webinars about if you're in your house, you have control over your room, over the different spaces in your house. So you can tidy up, you can clean, We can reorganize and shuffle things. Doing things that are under our control enables us to feel a little bit more anchored in this space here and now. So, one of the big things that during this time, especially for the ones that we are in New Zealand and we are coming back in a sense into the open world once again, we are in what it's called level 2 that enables a lot of the businesses to open, people to go and see other people, small gatherings. There's another big change when that happens. Is this change of the reintegration. So knowing that we're again going to go into a change is a big thing. But I was actually talking with someone, and this reminded me of many years ago when I was volunteering in this youth organization that we worked with people going to exchange in other countries for work or for study. And there was always a process to prepare people for culture shock when they went to a new country. And then we realized that actually the biggest shock was the coming back. Because when we go to something different, and then supposedly we come back to what we knew, and that new is no longer exactly the same. And also, we are not the same. We might actually find it even more challenging that space than the initial change. So, knowing in these times to actually take it with ease and being gentle with the transitioning back into work or into study or into gatherings, let's ease into that because it might come with a lot of shock. So, as we go through these times, I see a lot of amazing opportunities. We still don't know how things are going to go. And a lot of times, and this is something that we talked about in the previous webinar, we are the ones that are creating the change. And when we don't even know how does this world that we want to live in looks like, how can we create it? How can we create the world that we want to live in if we can't even imagine it? I've been talking a lot with people that have been focusing too much on the negative side of things, in everything that they're watching in the media, in different conspiracy theories, whether they are real or not. The main issue is that they are getting caught up in that and they are bringing their frequency and vibration down. And I find it that it's hard or it's way more challenging to create the life that I want if my energy is low, if I'm vibrating in a low frequency. So during these times that there's so much changing, what can we do? What can we do? Stay grounded, take care of what we can, slowing down, making sure that we're nourishing ourselves by doing the things that we enjoy, by cooking if that's something that we enjoy, by taking the time of having deep and meaningful conversations with our loved ones, whether that is at home or over the computer, over the phone, making sure that we're nourishing ourselves with what we are putting into our minds. What is the information that we are receiving during these times. When all that we are bringing into our world, our inner world, is actually not in competition with us maintaining a high energy level, then we can keep that up and we can start creating the world that we want. So, when there's so much change in the world, when the situation that we're in now shows us glimpses of how the world could actually come together in certain things and collaborate, how people find in themselves more kindness, more compassion to support each other during these times. What can we learn and take from these times to what is coming? Are we just going to revert back to business as usual, thinking only about money, not worrying about the fact that perhaps a lot of the businesses and a lot of the industries are just harmful for the environment? And during this time that something stopped, we're able to see a little bit of that change. How when we give Mother Earth, Papatuanuku, Pachamama, when we give her a little bit of a break, she can start healing again because she has that capacity, just like we do. She has that capacity. So, can we learn from these times? And if we learn something, how do we move forward with it? And one of the biggest things for me is that I cannot expect other people to change if I am not willing to do that. So I need to live by example for me. Then there's going to be a ripple effect. But the most important thing is that for me, I need to live by example. And I need to actually make the changes that I want to see in the world. If I think that this time was amazing because of the lack of pollution in the sky in certain places, if we go back to work, if we go back to work, to working and to gatherings, how are we contributing to that? How am I contributing to that? One of the biggest things with this has been a practice that has been actually quite challenging a lot of times in terms of communicating with people, but that has helped me a lot actually in taking responsibility. And that is the way that I talk. So when we talk, usually we do this. We say we. We try to include ourselves, which is it has a good it has a benefit in inclusiveness when we talk like this. The problem is that when I talk about we, when I talk about you in terms of like when you do this or that third person, that actually is taking away the responsibility from me because I'm putting that responsibility in everyone. And there's nothing wrong because we are all responsible. But in order for me to take responsibility and to talk in the first person, and I know that this is challenging conversations a lot of times, but when people that I'm engaging in conversations with, they know that I'm doing that, it gets a little bit easier. Because instead of saying, for example, we are polluting the earth, we are polluting with plastic, can I say, I am polluting the earth, I am polluting with plastic, or whatever that is that we want to say in the first person. Because when we actually talk in that way, I can realize, like, oh wow, I am doing that. How can I actually change that if that is something that I want to change? How can I evaluate what is it that I do that is not aligned with my values, with what I stand for, and with the vision of the world that I have? Because as long as I keep on doing the things that are not in alignment, then everybody is free to do that as well. And we won't go anywhere, we won't change because I am expecting perhaps everyone else to start. Someone has to start, so why not you? Why not me? The more that we start waking up to how interconnected we all are, it's easier for us to understand that we actually matter, that what I do matters, that my contribution to the world matters, that my energy matters, my thoughts matter. And when I can see life and meet life like that, then I can create the change. And as I said before, then we create this ripple effect. We don't know what the ripple effect is going to turn into. Perhaps we change one person's life. Perhaps we change 1 million. Perhaps we change the entire planet. We never know. But as long as we're changing just one ourselves, that is more than enough. So, what do I need to do in order to do that? For me, I know I need to keep on practicing every single day. I don't allow myself to get to the point of needing to meditate or needing to do a practice or needing to go to nature to realign or to rebalance or to distress. I make sure that I don't even get to that place. I make sure that every single moment I maintain a high level of awareness to know that if I need to go and do meditation because I'm stressed, then I wasn't doing the right thing before for me because I got stressed. And this doesn't mean that life is all nice, that there's no challenges in life. This means that how I am responding to life is up to me. I can have a lot of challenging situations, but still I can remain calm. I can remain balanced, not getting into stress, because I understand that that doesn't help at all. And I need to understand that experientially. When I know that in my mind only, I'm not going to put it into practice. But when I can actually experience this, it makes it way easier. So for me, one of the biggest things is, what is my perspective of life? What is my perspective of what is happening in the world? And there's a lot of different perspectives from where to see this. There's a lot of different lenses. So I'm choosing, in a sense, the ones that I want to look it through. Most of the time, I just look it through the lens of everything is energy, everything is vibration. And if everything is energy, on one level, energy is not good or bad. Energy is just energy, and it's just vibrating. So why would I allow energy, situations, work, relationship, whatever that is, to have such a big impact on me if it's just energy? My response to the circumstances are up to me. I can allow any situation to be a situation, or I can allow any situation to become a problem. The situation is the same. Less money, lost my job. That situation is there. But I can respond to that situation with that is what it is, or by stressing about it and making it into a problem. So when I get into that state, it's more challenging actually to work with that challenge, to understand where is the opportunity there. What can I do? What are the actions and the steps that I can start taking in order for me to get out of that challenging situation? But when I get it to be a problem, my view starts to become close. Just like a horse, sometimes I cannot see anything other than one point, and that point is that problem. So, what can I do to widen my perspective and to meet life where it is? So, with these times, what can we do? We can do what's under our reach. And why is this happening? What can we learn from it? We can learn as much as we want. We can see a lot of the negatives, or we can see the positives. That doesn't mean that the negatives are not there. That means that we are looking at it differently. That all of the challenges, we can see the opportunities there. That when there's a big transformation, we can come up even better than before. Just like a butterfly. So when we want, we can actually do that. It just takes practice, maintaining our awareness, maintaining high levels of energy. So for me, that means nourishing myself with what I know that is good, both in food, energy, and information. So I understand that that has an impact. And then the way that I am receiving that will also depend what my experience is like. So this is why it's super important for me to be in my heart space and to live from my heart, because my heart has this quality of openness that my mind doesn't have. My heart has kindness, compassion, love. When I can meet life's situation from that space, my perspective is very different than when I meet life from here, analyzing, trying to make everything logical, trying to fix. What about allowing? What are the gifts that this moment, this situation that we're going through now, is showing us? So when we see life from that perspective, life is quite different. And this is the future that I want to create. A future that, as the earth is transforming and will continue transforming, how can we transform with her? And how can we use these times to learn and adjust and thrive? So the more that we are connected from that space, the better prepared we're going to be to transform with the earth. So all the time, bringing awareness into our experience, maintaining this open-mindedness and open heart so that we can actually see what is beyond our narrow view. What are the gifts? And knowing that there's no need to solve everything now. Knowing that we need to go step by step by step. We don't need to know where that is heading completely. We just need to have a certain idea, and the path will reveal itself as we start taking those steps. So, making sure that when we are wanting to go somewhere, not to go too fast, unless we know fairly certainly where we're going and how to get there. A lot of times, for me, the why, the asking why is super important. And once I know that why, then how? If I know my why, I can do my how. So knowing that that is something that I need to keep all the time, just step by step, understanding what's behind that. What am I trying to do with my life? What is my vision of the world? And how can I partner the earth? How can I partner others? How can I partner with the universe to create that? And together, we're all going to lead us to that place. So the more that each of us take responsibility for our place, and we bring the gifts that are unique for us, then we're going to go through this. But when we don't show up, we are not only preventing ourselves from our gifts, we're preventing the world from our gifts because someone needs that. So we need to make sure that we are bringing that to partner the universe, to partner everyone else, to bring the world that we want to. So, how are you going to do that? This is going to be different for each of us. So, the main thing is connecting to your inner resources, connecting with your energy, connecting with your breath, connecting with your body. And from there, see what comes out. We need to listen to what is underneath the superficial level and dig that up. So that is then available. So, what is underneath your superficial level, thinking or feeling? What is underneath that? And how can you bring that out? So, I would love to hear if any of you have something to share about what you heard, if something resonated, or how does this relate to your life. Feel free to open your microphone and mute and to share a little bit. Rain. Yeah.
I must admit you touched on something that really rang when I left Bali at the end of July or June, whenever it was last year, and we were warned that it was the coming back that was harder than the going. One of the things I've always, I guess, struggled with, but you've touched on a solution for that, was the fact that when you come back from a life-changing event, or when you go through, as we are right now, an event that is life-changing for many people, even if it's because for once, and I know for myself, the whole world stopped. I've never seen that in my lifetime. That was like putting the brakes on in your car and you've got that, oh my God experience. And I've had that many times. But what I noticed was that my adaptation to this is not what it was when I came back from Bali. When I came back from Bali, it was like, I'm different. Everybody else still has a perception of me that I am what I was. Their expectation is the same as
Yeah.
it was. They say, we expect you to come back different, but their hearts don't actually say that. And you feel that. And I
Mm,
know that ever since I've been back from there, and now in this environment, when you walk down the street, I'm standing next to somebody, or I'm talking with somebody, and this is listening, not these. And I find now that my heart tells me more than my ears do.
mm,
But that makes it really difficult, because it means that when I'm not hearing truth at this level, I, I struggle with communication with people. I find it difficult to look them in the eye and say, I'm looking at your eyes as your connection to your heart, and I'm hearing words that aren't coming from your heart, they're coming from your brain, and they don't resonate with the energy that you're giving off. So what's the truth? And I guess the more I'm in this environment where we're going now, people are walking down the street, they're looking strong, they're looking confident, but they're actually frightened.
mm,
And I've very seldom ever heard anybody say, this is a frightening experience, this is an upending experience, this is a confusing experience.
mm,
People always want to look strong. There's no vulnerability. I'm lucky in that I've been not working full time for for quite some time. So the change for me hasn't been as significant when it came to how my daily life can contribute. But I know, and I'll admit, I've been frightened, confused, anxious, many different things.
mm.
And the people that I'm surrounded by are all talking from their heads. What do you do with that? Is that where the allowance thing comes in? Do you just,
Yeah. I mean, there is, and this is one of the challenging things in terms of our environment and the people we surround ourselves, and where are we coming from.
mm,
And I I remember how different my experience was when I lived. Now it's 8 years ago that I lived at a Tibetan Buddhist retreat center for a few years, and people there were coming from a different place. Were coming from here, and the interactions, there was, most of the time, there was no need for that mask. There was no need for that shield, and for this persona that we want to show. So when I came back to society, and and I started, again dealing with people, and that it's it's a different story, as you say. Like, there's a lot coming from here and want to show something, and I think that, at least for me, is the more that I'm in contact with my feelings, the more that I'm in contact with the other person's feelings, regardless if they are talking from here or if they are talking from here. I can feel
mm,
where they're coming from, and knowing that not everyone is on the same path as I am, not everyone is doing the same things, not everyone needs to be on my same frequency, doing the same practices that I do, or even seeing life in the same lens that I see it, and being okay with that. So, I love not only the word, but the experience of surrendering.
thank you. Because to me, the word allowing is almost like it's a form of, it's a tacit form of control. To
Mm,
say that I'm going to allow somebody to be whatever they're being is me giving them permission, in here at least,
mm,
where surrendering to the situation. And thank you, you've answered that question very astutely. For me, surrendering to the situation is not taking, giving, controlling how the other person, or how it's just allowing myself to give up control and say, well, I hear them, I feel them, I
mm,
experience. in that response or that interaction, and I don't have to have a reaction to it. I don't have to have an answer for it. That's really cool, because no one's ever. I've asked this sort of question before, and generally people will say, I just got to allow them to speak, or allow them to be, or allow this, that, or the other. But that's a very significant, it's a tiny point, but it's a very significant point for me.
Yeah. And this is important, I think, in terms of, I remember one of my teachers, and it's one of the teachings that I resonated a lot actually, was he said that language is a mixed blessing. Language, language allows us to communicate, allow us to interact from a very deep place sometimes. There's a lot of intricacies in the language, also depending on your language. But also the thing with language is that we give meaning to the language. And the meaning that I give to a certain word might not be the same meaning that another person puts in that word. And this is why the world of feelings for me is the one that I resonate the most to interact with people. Of course, it's easier, for example, now to be using words and not just sitting here and trying to feel the experience, but understanding all of the time that when something doesn't resonate true to us, it might be because that word is not the correct for us. So, like as you said, perhaps for someone else the word allowing is perfect for the situation, and for you that is surrendering. And knowing that now, yeah, that rings true. But perhaps for the other person, the word allowing is the same, and perhaps surrendering means nothing. And all the time, being careful with the words that we choose, but as well understanding that everyone will hear what they hear when I say something. Regardless of what I'm saying, people will make it into their own words. This is why, and I always say this in every class and every workshop and every retreat that I've done. I always tell people, you are all listening to the same thing that I'm saying, and you're still all having a different experience. This shows that it's not the words that I'm saying, it's how you are individually receiving that. And that is the power as well. Of course, there's another transmission happening from an energetic standpoint, but there is that level of understanding of words, and I think that it's fascinating because sometimes I'm trying to find the correct word, and then I'm like, if I'm trying to find the correct word, I'm not going to say anything for 2 minutes, so I'm just going to say whatever word comes out and then work with that in a sense.
So do you mean that, so do you think that if your choice of words may not intellectually feel correct, but resonates with your heart, that in the process of speaking that with that heart resonation, that the true meaning of what you're intending to portray will go with it and be received that way? Does it work like that?
Sometimes yes, but also the other person might not be open to receiving that as
Exactly.
well.
And so there is, I recognize that there is a division there, but and if you're speaking with people who aren't coming from a heart space, you can feel what they're giving off, what their energy is. You can see the discord with the words that they're choosing. That's that's where I have to just surrender to the situation. That's where the word of surrender to me is very significant. And I do take your point about different interpretations. But for me, it's okay. They'll get to that place one day when they need to, if they need to, when they need to.
Yeah.
And But yeah, I know what you mean. You try and pick the right words, and if you aren't coming from the right space, those words will be meaningless to anybody.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's actually been really significant tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
That's right.
Mm. Anybody else? Caroline, would you like to share something?
Yeah, thank you for sharing, both of you. It was really good to hear both of you speak, of your experiences and your most recent experience too, Brian, and your practice as well. That really resonated with me about um, practicing as a preventative, as opposed to feeling the stress and then making the decision then. I like the idea of practicing with awareness and intent every day and how our bodies really respond to that.
Mm.
Where my body tells me, okay, it's time to go and do this because of the practice and how am my body really responding to feeling good.
Mm.
And I've also had the other experience too, where I've lived with a lot of chronic stress, and my body then almost creates situations so I can stay in that place of stress.
Mm.
So I'm liking how my body is responding to just, having as many joyful moments as possible and experiencing that. I think
Mm.
that was the word you used, or was it experiential? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice to hear. Yeah, and I think that you know, in a sense, we're all different, and we all need different things, and we all deal with life differently. I just noticed for myself that when when I wasn't keeping myself, and then I think that this is why I resonate a lot with the Buddhist teachings, the middle way, like understanding that the more that I can maintain myself near that space, the easier my life is. Because yes, there are highs and there's lows, but a lot of times the highs and the lows for me and for most people that I work with, those moments, awareness is not there. We we are so caught up into the highs or the lows that we cannot maintain awareness, and we cannot maintain our intention as easily as when we are in the middle. And for me, the process of trying to stay in that place in the middle has been super important, as you say, as a preventative measure in a sense. But it's not only preventative, I'm not preventing anything because there's nothing that is going to happen if I stay there in a sense. So I can I can flow through life, and I know in my experience, I know what it was like to be stressed, and I haven't been stressed in so many years now. Like looking back, I'm like, wow, like that was such a different experience. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just an experience. The problem is that I wasn't living life in the same way that I am now. Now I'm able to live life from a very different place because I am not allowing out of that highs and lows. And it's not that things don't happen that are amazing or things that happen that are super challenging. Is that when those things happen, instead of going, if this is the middle, instead of going completely up here, perhaps I go up here. or perhaps in the lower ones, I go up here instead of all the way down. That allows me to live a little bit that wave of life, but to do it from a place of awareness. And by doing it from a place that actually I I have the power. I'm in control. Not by controlling the situation, but I'm in control in the sense of like I got this. I can be with the situation that is there. So like that again going back to the language control, like that can be a challenging word. It's not so much of controlling thing, but more of a knowing that, I got this. I am with my hands on the wheel. I can take this car where I want it. So knowing that I have that power actually is really empowering. And this is one of the things that in these times that there's so much unknowns, there's so much that is changing. The ones that we take the wheels of our life and we steer it towards where we actually want to go, we can actually create huge changes for ourselves and for others. And this is why with this webinar series, we wanted to talk about transforming with the earth, because we can actually do that. And we don't need to allow everything to hit us like a wave and then we are just trying to bring our head above water. We can actually surf that wave. We can actually swim and go with it and use that wave. So my as we start wrapping up this webinar series, my final saying is to be able to see for yourself what are the gifts that these times have brought, and how can you take the wheel, and how can you go towards where you want. So thank you guys for being here.